Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I'm your host Faisalabad and you are watching Foresight. Viewers, as we all know that South Asia is witnessing rapid industrialization. Some of the neighboring countries have this phenomena that they are going through an unprecedented pollution-oriented framework. Unfortunately, this pollution has spread all over, particularly in our neighbor, and this pollution has become a real-time problem for Pakistan, as the transboundary toxic gases are now creating hindrance to the daily life. Pakistan itself, and due to its neighborhood, paying the brunt of the industrialization. Unfortunately, these statistics became worse as Pakistan became the most polluted country in the world. Two of its major cities, Lahore and Karachi, are witnessing mayhem. People are suffering because of these pollutants, and unfortunately Pakistan is facing the brunt of the industrialization of its neighboring countries like India and China. This lethal scenario affecting every single Pakistani, that life expectancy even down by 5 to 7 years. There are lots of respiratory diseases. Unfortunately, the chronic diseases prevailing in most part of the country, particularly in Lahore and Karachi, are huge health and environmental hazards. Along with that, Pakistan is also bearing the brunt of the financial crisis. These financial losses to the national exchequer is also an impediment to growth. These are all the areas where we have the focus and we are going to discuss. We have in our studios Dr. Ijaz Ahmed. He is the senior environmentalist. Most welcome to you, sir. Brigadier retired Hamid Rashid Malik. He is the senior analyst. Thank you very much for your arrival as well. And we have online Saira Ijaz. She is going to join us online as she is the senior analyst. Brigadier Hamid, how do you see particularly this situation? Because this is an unprecedented situation when Pakistan intends to grow, but unfortunately this pollution is the hindrance into it.
In overall context, what we see that urbanization and industrial development is a natural outcome of the last century as well as the last 2 decades, and Pakistan, being on path of progress and being path on development, has to embrace the industrialization as well as the mechanization. But at the same part, what was missing was basically the planning to reduce the carbon emission as well as the other toxic greenhouse gases emissions. Here we need to also realize that urbanization has its own advantages. That is why the migration from rural areas to the urban center is natural, and it's productive also because of the job opportunities, better healthcare, better education, and also certain aspect of comfortable life. But the town planning has to be done in a way that it is there not to destroy the green areas.
You tend to say that cities are overburdened, and unfortunately because of that, or missing planning or something like that, cities are actually paying the brunt of that.
Yes.
What air pollution, Dr. Ijaz, because you are the senior environmentalist, you have all the experience related to the area, what air pollution means to the common public, where most of the people are feeling the smog as a real challenge?
Well, I think for a common person, when we talk about air pollution, it means more diseases, it means more health hazards, toxic gases are being inhaled, and the condition work is suffering because people, if they are not feeling well, they will be unable to contribute into the economy, and also to actually for their own livelihood, they will not be able to secure job, or even if somebody is daily paid, will not be able to work to that extent. So it's not only environmental health, but also related to the human livelihood, to the economy. So it's a very integrated kind of issue, and I think as Brigadier Sahab mentioned, the urban setting and the planning is something which we need to consider in a cohesive way, in a sense that it has to be integrated. Of course, we need industries. Of course, we need more urban settlements. But there are ways to do it. There are smart ways to do it. There are environmentally friendly technologies available, and there are so many different things which globally are being done without increasing the cost of
So we have the National Clean Air Policy available, and is it complete in all respects and implemented in real terms?
I think we have many policies. You just name it. There are so many different policies, but what we lack is the implementation. We lack implementation because we may not have that kind of resources for implementation, or the willingness to implementation also is an issue. Then the capacity, then the technology. So there is a long list of things. We make policies, but then we fail to implement, and ultimately the situation gets worse. Climate change policy is there, clean air policy, as you mentioned, is there, hazardous waste policy is also there. So all these policies, and then smog related policy for Punjab was developed in 2017-18. That is also there. But what happens is, unfortunately, we actually go for low hanging fruits and not work on the long term solutions. We take some measures, day off in the school, day off in the universities, or maybe Mall Road will only be for the cyclists, etc. But then the long term solutions which need to work on the transportation sector, 80%, more than 80% air pollution in Lahore, based on the study which was conducted by Urban Unit in Lahore in 2000.
That is straight away coming from the traffic.
It is coming from the transportation.
So your point well taken. Saira Ijaz is with us on the telephone line. Saira, whether clean air policies at the national and provincial level has the mechanism to curtail this hazardous pollution across the country?
Yes, I think I have gone through the National Air Clean Policy. Yes, it does, and it targets the 5 key areas, which are transport, industry, agriculture, waste, and households or residential areas. I think there is, again, I agree with Dr. Ijaz that there is a need to implement these policy frameworks, because without implementation in the active roles, and here comes the roles of provinces. Like after 18th Amendment, it's the role of provinces to make sure to control the areas under their control and to implement these policies. Now, I would like to highlight certain, things which are mentioned in the National Clean Air Policy, in which I think there is a need to develop and, improve mass transit systems, first of all. And in the winters, particularly in the month of November, there is a huge, problem of burning crop residual. So I think there is a need to ban crop burning and promote alternatives control emissions from threshing and tilling. It's because we are an agricultural country, and there is lots of activity is done during these harvesting and areas. So I think there is a need to ban and introduce such things. Again,
but Saira, the situation is very worst. We have to take immediate actions now, because that life is at halt, visibility is approximately zero, and people are even not able to breathe. So how the life will run, how the daily businesses, the markets are going to be open, or how the industry will grow, because that there is a lack of green growth development in Pakistan overall.
Yes. Again, it doesn't happen in a day or in a year's time, It has happened, and we are in this situation due to high activity and the over-exploitation of natural resources over the years, over the decades, I would say over a century. So it will not be solved in a month's time or in a day's time. Again, we have to go for long-lasting policies, and there is a need.
We have all the policies. Sarah, we have all the policies available.
We do have.
The problem is the implementation, the enforcement is the problem. And this smog or air pollution type of phenomena is not today's phenomena. It is picking up from the last 2-3 decades. So how do you see that? Because implementation is not there when we have lots of governments came and go, but unfortunately that is zero progress on that.
I fully agree with you. And again, unfortunately, Karachi and Lahore again have taken the top spots for some of the most polluted cities in the world. We are in an emergency situation. So that's why I'm saying that there is a need to transition to renewable energies, though which is very expensive and time consuming. Now we don't have any other, option except to, lower our carbon emissions. We need to promote, not only promote, but to implement and to transit towards renewable energies, solar energies, and we are not, and to banning all these things, which are, prohibition of open waste burning is another crucial issue. Promote, and we have to, adopt the use of clean energy in industrial sectors. Again, we have to, promote low carbon, fuel efficient infrastructure and technology in railways, in maritime and aviation sectors as well, to, cater this, emergency situation of urban.
Okay. Your point well taken. Dr. Ijaz, when we are talking about pollution and the policies to curtail this phenomena, how much we are successful in, one, revising emission standards, number two, restricting industries to be established in cities particularly, then decarbonization of every sector, and along with that the establishing at least the emission inventory. So whether we are
yeah. Thank you. Too many questions, and I'm sure I will forget.
Okay. So I'll repeat.
Let's start with the first one, which was
that was related to the revising emission standards.
Yeah, I think even if we follow the current standards, we will be in a better position in a sense that whatever standards have been made, they are according to the international agreements. They are according to the international conventions that we have been signing over a period of time. So, and then our legislation, for example, national environmental quality standards are there, which actually specifies that any industry or any factory which is constructed are supposed to throw, whether it's air, whether it's water, to that level where they should not pollute. They should be in a position where the human life is not at danger. So we don't need to revise them, but we need to work on them. And then there is a polluter pays principle, that if you are polluting as an industry, if you are polluting some environment, then you are supposed to
have some fines or something,
have some fines and take actions to mitigate it as well.
Definitely.
As far as the emission inventory is concerned, I think there is some research going on, some studies are going on, and hopefully we will be able to develop a database of various.
We have the environmental tribunals and all that. So how many polluters are actually taken to task? How many polluters were indicted or those were punished?
Hardly, there is, maybe you can count on fingers. That is a dilemma in a sense that the general public don't know what are the environmental repercussions and environmental disasters that are going on.
Even what are their environmental rights?
Yes, exactly. And then, sorry, diverting a little bit about vehicular emission and the pollution that we are facing in Lahore or other cities. This does not happen only in winter. It happens throughout the year.
Throughout the year.
And the action that we need is not for 1 month or 2 months. We need those actions on a regular basis over a period of time. throughout the whole year, so that the accumulation of these particles should not be on a regular basis. So they will accumulate, and then in winter it's because of the temperature difference.
Yeah, definitely it is the phenomenon.
It is more visible.
How we can restrict industries not to be in cities?
Well, normally if we see industries, there are industrial areas, they were not part of the cities. They were away from the cities, but the cities developed to that extent.
But most of the time cities grow and then
yes,
they
just take the example of airport. Islamabad airport was very much far from the Islamabad.
Okay.
So it was like 25-30 kilometers away from Islamabad. But now all the societies, and it is attraction, that is the selling point, close to airport, 2 minutes drive from airport. So that is something, as mentioned, Brigadier earlier mentioned about the urban planning. So the urban planning, there are different faults in it. For example, you are occupying the agriculture areas. There will be issue of food security. The area near Lahore has expanded to Sheikhupura, to Qusur, to Bhai Pheru, to everywhere it is almost touching the next city or town. That area and land was one of the most productive land, because it was close to Ravi River, riverbed. And
if you briefly touch upon the decarbonization of different sectors, along with that establishing emission inventory as well. So how do you see that?
Well, I think it will take time, because we have not realized the urgency of what is going on. I mean, just start from the fuel. The fuel that we are using, we are still I think Euro 3 or 4 or 5, whereas
but the huge quantity is the low quality fuel as well.
Low quality fuel. Oil is very much degraded oil. The chinjis, the rickshaws, the bikes, the diesel is more prominent. So again, the number of vehicles have increased tremendously. Islamabad number of vehicles have gone close to 1 million, Islamabad, Rawalpindi, and the population is 2 million. So just imagine, how we are contributing negatively in degrading the environment. So it's a very big issue, but we are taking very small steps.
Definitely. It is a big issue, and really, Brigadier Retired Hamid, how do you see that the development at the cost of environment and the deforestation, destruction, pollution, what about?
In simple word, it is self-restriction. Because we have to see, if you have a better environment and you have better air quality, you have to have less carbon emission. And I would like to add what Dr. Saab has said, that decarbonization is not only the carbon that is produced by the transport, that energy production also. See, our energy mix is 58% or more from thermal, that is from fossil fuel, from coal or from the crude oil. That also need to be looked into, because we have a good source of hydro available to us, which can be made use of, but because of the previous government not taking interest in that and increasing the production from hydro is one of the cause of more carbonization and bad air quality. And if we take, for example, Lahore as an example, we see that because of the mushroom growth of the concrete structures, we had to sacrifice the trees and the forest.
Definitely.
And Pakistan forest area, which was about more than 10%, has now been reduced to about 2 to 5%. And that also I would like to highlight that 2 initiatives taken by the government in 2019, that was the billion tree project in KPK as well as the Miyawaki model forest in Lahore. I think these are going to give a boost to the forestation in Pakistan, and also we need to learn from the Shanghai also, because Shanghai, when it experienced and witnessed the growth of the concrete structures, they also inbuilt a strategy and a policy in their government that there has to be urban forestation. The only, I think, solution available to us is urban afforestation. And it has to be first mitigation and transformation. Mitigation is that we need to revolutionize our carbon emission to go to the least carbon emission standards, that is the we have to energy production, we have to leave and go for the smart solution. For transport also, the electric bikes and cars is I think good solution, and Pakistan is moving toward that direction.
Definitely, your point well taken. We have online Professor Dr. Mohammad Fahim Khokhar. He is the senior researcher and air quality specialist as well. He had worked a lot on air pollution particularly, and very concerned about different cities. Professor Dr. Fahim, most welcome to you. My question is related to that whether these carved policies related to curtail pollution or smog or something like that help reducing ambient air quality concentration standards as well?
Well, there have been certain policies available, and as I mentioned, my colleagues over in your show sitting there, so they have already rightly mentioned there are plenty of policies available. But the main issue is, again, the implementation. This is the one very straightforward answer. Implementation is not there. But I'll take another stance, actually. Implementation, to certain extent could be there, because our bureaucratic circle, or somehow during the smog season, the government becomes very reactive to these challenges and the issues. So, but the biggest challenge is actually that we had not properly quantified our issues and challenges. We have not confined our sources of air pollution properly. What is exactly polluting us and in which quantity? So the lack of air quality monitoring network across the country is the biggest challenge ever what we are facing. Because whatever you devise a policy or strategy, it's not going to be if there is no any feedback, whether it has been effective or ineffective, in a sense, if it was ineffective, then in what magnitude it was ineffective. So you're not going to improve the situation. The second biggest challenge is actually, as rightly mentioned Dr. Ijaz before, that the challenge or issues of smog or air pollution is not just for the 2 months, because it's visible. That's why we are more reactive during the smog season. But what's about the question is, what's about the rest of the period? So our data analysis, what we did, conducted even study in Lahore and various part of the country. So in Lahore during 2021, 2022, hardly any day was below Pakistan's NEQs. And if you consider the WHO guidelines, then probably hardly there was not a single day that during 2022, 2021 that the Lahore has experienced a clean air. So the question is, because we are lacking capacity, we are lacking in the resources, in adequate infrastructure for air quality management. So we have to improve our capacity and the quality of the information under which we should devise our policies and implement them effectively. And
so, Dr. Fahim, this phenomena is not restricted to Lahore or Karachi only, because across the year this is the phenomena is there, and every city is gripping into the air pollution and smog-like situation. Might be the intensity could be low, but this presence of air pollution is everywhere, and everywhere is paying the brunt of it.
I totally agree with you. Fog is a natural process, a natural phenomenon that is going to happen whenever the meteorological conditions are favorable. The fog is going to make it. When it is contaminated with the air pollutants, then it turns into the smog, and that means all Indo-Gangetic plains actually experience smog conditions during the winter. This is a very normal natural phenomenon because of topography and strategic location of the Indo-Gangetic plains that we have been experiencing. But now the question is why the intensity is getting very high, why the implications are those very much severe. We have strong health implications and reduce efficiency and all these things. This matters a lot. Then for that particularly, we need to characterize the challenge. We need to pinpoint accurately whether it's contributed by the local sources or it's both the transboundary sources. So the two things I want to be make it clear. So what we experience Lahore nowadays during post-monsoon season, which is October and November, it's not always a smog. It is a smoke of rice paddy fires or agriculture waste burning or agriculture fires. Okay, so because our data tells us that not all the meteorological conditions are fulfilled all the time. In winter, we do expect the smog incidents. Second thing, that during this post-monsoon season, our air quality or air pollution magnitude, that is 60% coming from the transboundary. 40% is from the local sources. Okay. The third point is which local sources are actually more polluting. So the transport, the thermal energy production, agriculture burning, or any solid waste burning. I mean, I tell you something very interesting. If you look at, I recently did this study and concluded with the help of Punjab government. So the vehicular fleet of Punjab actually constitutes 70% motorcycles and these chinchi rickshaws sort of things. And you know, one motorcycle can produce 300% more hydrocarbons than a car and almost 4,000% more NOx and 8,000% more CO than a car. And where are these policies? They are not actually addressing these two-wheelers. No policy for, even this electric vehicular policy is there, they are mainly emphasizing on the cars. But the thing is, so cars are just hardly 25%. So what if you turn 25% of all cars on the electric vehicle? So your problem will be addressed just 25%. The 75% is remained unaddressed. So you need to look
So, Dr.
into
Fahim, what about the sectoral emission load reduction based approach? Because any target set on that node, because for cities, for regions, or larger air sheds, and also emphasize upon the major polluting sectors like transport, like industry and power sector?
I'm not familiar with whether there have been any such framework or action plan available by any government, like federal or provincial government, but definitely, yes, we have to go for. We have to, I mean, imagine it during 2017 and 18, Ministry of Climate Change, Pakistan has given a rough estimates that Lahore, just a single city of Lahore, having this smoke, poor visibility conditions and smoke incidences cost 2 billion rupees a day. So this is huge economic loss. So that means we need to go for this because the smog are such critical air pollution event have huge disruption in socio-economic circles. So they have direct damages, they have indirect damages. So our health sector is under tremendous stress when these critical air pollution incidences are there on board. And even during the rest of that, because our health system is totally subsidized, and if you have that much pressure because of air pollution, so it will not deliver at all. I mean, already we have a very strange type of
Your point well taken, Dr. Fahim. Dr. Ijaz, when we are talking about the medium and long-term approach, any development at the regional, provincial, or at the national level regarding the clean air policies?
I don't think so. I think there are gaps, as mentioned by Professor Saab. We just focus on cosmetics. I'm sorry to say that, but the real issue, if we talk about
photo ops are more important for us rather than the practical approach.
Right. If we only focus on vehicular emission, I think we will come up with some solution at least. And very well said that we don't actually focus on two-wheelers or three-wheelers, and now because of this electric vehicular policy, I think we need to promote more and more in production of these vehicular electric two-wheeler and three-wheeler should be enhanced. I would also like to point out here that when we talk about crop burning, that is an issue. But another important issue is open burning of waste.
Obviously.
Open burning
Obviously
of
it
waste
is.
in the city is more harmful than the open burning of crop. Reason being that the open burning in cities actually contains so many different items, plastic, Tetra Pak. When they burn, they are more actually lethal, more toxic. The gases in the form of furon or dioxin, etc., which are cancer causing.
So whether the provincial environmental protection agencies, they are empowered to implement policies, to enforce them,
Yes.
and in real terms?
They are, because I think it is causing environmental degradation, and there are many like the Environmental Protection Act at the provincial level are there, and then the Federal Environmental Protection Act is also there. And I think it should be considered as a national issue. It should not be considered as a provincial issue, because pollution, air pollution, if it can come from India to Pakistan, it can go from Lahore to Peshawar.
There is another politics going on after the 18th Amendment, that it's the provincial subject, it's not the federal subject. When Federation wants to, or center wants to intervene, then provinces ask it that it's our subject. So how it is
That's
going
what
to
that's what I am saying, that I think we have to look into the solution which is appropriate for at the national level. Because if suppose if Lahore is managed properly, what will happen? Whatever is going on in Rawalpindi, will Islamabad is not going to suffer? There is no air border, there is no restriction of air to move from Rawalpindi to Islamabad and Islamabad to Rawalpindi. So I think any action that is required should be based on the national issue. We should not consider this as some of the provincial.
So what National Environment Council is doing actually?
Well, National Environmental Council, they are actually sleeping at the moment, although the Environmental Protection Agency, now you have mentioned this Pakistan Environmental Protection Council was supposed to meet on, I think, 6 monthly basis.
Yes.
And I don't remember, like.
It is mandatory according to the Constitution.
It is, yes. But I don't remember that for last many years whether they have met or not. And so it's very unfortunate.
So there are
that
lots of problems,
there
obviously,
are
and
environmental is not considered as a priority, which is everybody, a small child, newly born child to old man like me, suffer from it.
Definitely, everybody is suffering. What about the imposition of pollution tax, Dr. Brigadier Hamid? Like a pollution tax, fines, or some sort of imprisonment, some actions must have to be taken on that, because these policies need some actions.
Here I would like to highlight that apart from the government imposition of certain regulatory authority and mechanism, the community need to understand it is for their own benefit.
Definitely.
And I think the issue will be only addressed when there is a public-private partnership, when community owns the responsibility. As my panelist also highlighted, this is everybody's responsibility to ensure first the mitigation and second is the transformation. And here also I would like that it should not be ping-pong action between the federal or provincial governments. They must first implement in true Latin spirit, and so when we come for the implementation,
if some sort of pollution tax or fines or some sort of imprisonments or actions would be taken, is there any legal cover available for that?
Yes, surely, because as you said that we have lot many laws available and WHO guidelines available, international conventions are there, and recently what we see that the caretaker Prime Minister a week ago, he highlighted that our country needs to reduce the carbon emission by 60% by 2030 and have population of electric vehicles by 30%. So as we see that there is a lot of resolve available, but implementation is missing, and implementation will only come when the provincial government, the district government and the community, they join hands, that all the violators, whether it is powerful or not.
If you just briefly said about that, as Dr. Fahim mentioned, that 60% of the transboundary pollution Pakistan is actually paying the price of that. So whether we have raised this issue with our neighboring countries ever?
I think because this phenomena is not very recent, for last, as you mentioned in the intro, 2 to 3 decades this is going on, and there have been discussion. both countries are signatory to international conventions, and we need to actually highlight this more frequently in various meetings like COP that we are going through, because this is a transboundary issue, and even if we solve our problems, still we will get the polluted air from our neighbors. So unless we have a comprehensive bilateral agreement with each other, this solution, the problem will remain the same. But I think we should also focus on whatever we are doing in our country. We should be responsible and take actions to mitigate those as well. We should
definitely.
Not,
your point is well taken, very important. Dr. Fahim, if we go through whole of the situation and we have elections are also at the doorstep, political parties are gearing up for manifestos as well. So how do you see the political awareness among the political parties that it's now the problem of every Pakistani, every voter is suffering because of the air pollution and smog issues. So how do you see the political parties' awareness, and whether they are going to put these issues into the manifestos for their priorities?
In principle, they should have, they should be the primary agenda of all these political parties. Environmental priorities or even climate change, because we're barely hit by the climate change in most vulnerable nations since decades. So unfortunate scenario throughout all parties actually hardly having any emphasis on this environmental centered agenda for that. So basically, it's like the challenge that not for only the political parties, but for the individuals as well. That means they should have act as a pressure group or pressure rise these parties to center around their environmental priorities as a fundamental part of their manifesto. Unfortunately, there hasn't been so far, and even rightly mentioned, because environment has been not priority for any government so far. Although we have the serious challenges we are facing, and what we are facing in the country right now is just tip of the iceberg, I'm telling you. And it's going to be very intense consequences and very frequent consequences, whether it's climate change, whether it's air pollution. So it's across the region, across the nation. So we need to prioritize it sooner or later. So if we do it sooner, we might be able to address earlier and avoid some losses.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much, Dr. Mohammad Fahim Khokar, Senior Analyst. Thank you very much for joining us online, and thank you very much, Dr. Ijaz, for your presence. Thank you very much, Brigadier Hamid, for your presence in studios. Viewers, as our panelists suggested, and even the environmentalists and climatologists, they are all emphasizing upon that this air pollution phenomena is gripping most of the countries, particularly developing world, and Pakistan is actually bearing the brunt of most of the neighboring countries, including India. So Pakistan has to raise this issue. This is the transboundary issue, not only raised with India, but also it is pertinent that Pakistan has to knock the door of international community, that why Pakistan is paying the price of industrial development of other countries. Otherwise, Pakistan must have to be compensated in this scenario, and we have to take this as a serious issue, as it is the issue of the common man. It is a common man, and the humans are actually paying the brunt of it. So Pakistan must have to be clean, green, and environmentally safe and protected. So this is the desire of whole of the nation. With this, this is the whole foresight of today. So this is the time to sign off. Allah Hafiz wa Nasr.